In this module, we are going to learn about another lookup function, which is an offset function. Now, this offset function is very similar to index, but can return either the value of a cell within an array, like an index, or a specific range of cells. So it's not just it can return a value of a cell, but it can also return a specific range of cell. So it is basically used for, where you want to require a dynamic range, right? Wherever you want to select some dynamic ranges, there this particular offset function becomes handy. So it can be used to build a dynamic named range for charts or pivot tables to ensure that your source data is always up to date. Now, we'll look at some examples here where we could actually understand how this offset function works. Now, this function basically takes around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parameters, right? The first parameter is the reference. The reference is the starting point. So this would actually require me to start from a particular point on your sheet. So you have to refer to that point. You have to set that address. And then you have to specify, okay, this is my base location or my base offset reference. From there, how many number of rows should I move? So the movement starts either to the right or the left. So if you want to move up, as far as the row is concerned, then use a negative. If you want to move down, it is positive. So if you want to move like 3, steps down as far as row is concerned, so you'll say 3 rows. So you'll say 1, 2, 3. Okay, you want to move 3 rows, so you are currently now positioned here. So you started with 10 and then you had 3 position below, and that is 5. Similarly, if you're positioned here and you say I want to move 1 column, then you come here. If you're here, you move 3 rows down, you come here. If you're here and you move, I want to come to 1 column, you come here. Then if you say, if I'm here and I say I want to move 1 column down, 1, so I'll come here. And then I say I want to move 1 column right, then I'm here. Right? So let's see that. So let's say is equal to offset. And then I say, okay, I'll start with here and I move 2 row, 1 row and 0 columns. I don't want to move any column, right? I just want to be there. But in that column, I want to move to the next row from where I've started, like B17. So where is it? 15. So from here, what is the next row? 15. And then if I say here, okay, I don't want to be on the same row. In the same row, I move to the next column on the right. So where it is 20. Correct? But suppose if I say I want to move 1 row, 1 column. So first it will move 1 row down and then 1 column. So it will show 16. Correct? So it's not just one value, but as it says, it is a range of values which you can also select. So suppose I want to select this range, right? So what should I say? And I want to sum them up. So I'll say is equal to sum offset B17 1 1. So I'll not say 1 1. I'll say 0 0. I say don't move any number of rows, don't move any number of columns. So be here. But from there, select, now don't move, now select that row, 2 rows. So the height would now be 2. So now I'm talking about selection, not movement, right? So this last 2 argument is selection. So I'm saying select these 2 rows. So it will select these 2 rows. So these 2 rows would be selected. And then if I say I want to move 2 columns, then these 2 rows would be selected. So these 4 would be selected. So 2 rows, 2 columns. So this whole thing would be selected. So what will give me now? The total of this range. So 10 plus 20, 30, 45 plus 16, 61. 61. Correct? So if I say move 1 row down, right? So 1 row down, 0 column and then select 1, 2, 3. So we'll select this one, right? So we'll say 1 row down, don't move any column. So this, from here it'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. So 15 plus 16, it's 31, 31 plus 12, 43, I think. So 43. Correct? So this way you can just play around with the offset function and change the named ranges. Okay. Now let's look one example here. Suppose I want to have this sales and months, and I want to display here the sale month of the first 2 months or first 3 months or first 4 months. So here I'll say, okay, display me the sale for the first month or the second month or the third month. So here I'll mention which month sale or total I want. So here I'll say is equal to sale for the first ampersand space months. So sale for the first month. So what should be the sale for the first month is equal to sum offset. Starting point is this. Number of rows to move 0. Number of columns to move 0. Now height would be defined by this. And width, even if you don't do, you can give 1 also, right? So sale for the first month is 8,000. So if you look at the formula, offset B26 starts here, doesn't move any number of rows or columns. So it selects D25. So whatever is 1, so it selects 1 here, just this one. And column is this only. Okay, so it stays here. It doesn't move to the next column and doesn't select that. So that only one column it selects, and that itself only. Now if I move that to 2, if I make this 2, it's 15,800, right? And if I say sales for the first 3 months, 22,000. So if you select this, 22,000. Select for first month. So this way, dynamically, as you are selecting the number of rows, the sales of that month is also changing accordingly. So this way, what you are doing, you are changing the selection. Now let me give you an example for a chart, like for example, where we can use the chart for this. So what we'll do first is, we will give a name. So I'll select this range, right? And I will give it a name like formula, name manager, and call it like new. And here I'll say my sales. And then I use a function, in fact. I'll say is equal to offset. Starting point is this one, comma. You need to move 0 rows, 0 columns, and this should be the selection as far as row is concerned. And for column, it's 1. That's it. And say OK. That's my sales. So this is my sales. Okay. And then I create another one and say my months. Now what I need to do here, same thing. I'll say is equal to offset. It starts from here. 0 rows, 0 columns, and selection would be selected by this and 1. And say OK. So now I have 2 named ranges, my months and my sales, which I'm going to use in my chart. So let's see how we are going to use it, right? So I'll close this and I'll say insert a chart, like for example, a scrolling chart. Right now, this is what they have done. So I'll say, okay, fine. I'll go to the select data and then remove it. And now I'll add this dynamic range, which I have given. Series name is sales. Series value is. So I'll click on the offset function and say function F3 and my sales. Say OK. And say OK. So that's my sales. And edit. Similarly for the axis label range, I will click on this to get the name and say function F3 and my months and say OK. And say OK. So it's showing me January and say OK. So currently it is showing me January, right? So if I select this and make it 2, it's showing me February. If I make it 3, it is showing me March. Now if I can attach a scroll bar with it, it will look very dynamic, right? So let me attach a scroll bar to it. So I'll say developer and insert scroll bar, right? And right click, format. I'll link this cell to this cell, right? Maximum value is 12 because 12 months, and minimum value is 1. And say OK. Now let's see. See, so I have created a scrolling chart. Like as I'm moving here, this sum for the first 10 months is also changing. So I'm changing this first 7 months, first 6 months, and similarly that chart is being shown here, right? So that's how you can actually make things dynamic, using offset function, index, right? It's very handy function as far as this dynamic ranges are concerned. So wherever you want some dynamic ranges which need to be changed based on your selection, then you can use this offset function.